What's up, y'all? This is Alex from Shadow Ascent. So, the main purpose of this video is to kind of help the viewer guide themselves through the question of, do you lack purpose, or are you just battling with resistance? And I know that my personal story with this question has spanned over the course of quite a few years already. Since high school ended, that's when I realized, oh shit, like I have to take care of more responsibilities. And the reality is I haven't truly embraced that. And even now today, I feel like there's still a lot of responsibility that I have to take, and I've still have had some shortcomings with that. And battling with resistance has been a huge thing for me because I feel like I have always been undisciplined in many ways. And with that lack of discipline, I feel like that feeds into that feeling of having a lack of purpose, and also that same existential feeling of depression. And I don't know if anybody else listening to this has ever experienced this, but I experienced this heavy cringe with life that kind of causes me to dissociate. And I understand the cringe as something that protects me emotionally in some type of weird, fucked up way, because it's protected me from the discomfort of having to approach situations in life, whether that's a career or some other like social event or something that involves me having like work on myself. And even if it doesn't involve me working on myself, it still has some level of cringe. And I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that, but I know for me, I've always battled with that question of what is my purpose. And simultaneously, I have also never really worked really hard towards something. And I definitely have worked hard towards things. I have that capability. I think fitness has been, I wouldn't say the easiest, but it's been one of those things that I've been able to work really hard towards, and really directing my work ethic towards that. But when it comes to mentally challenging myself in terms of sitting down in front of a computer and following some type of intellectual habit, hobby, or career path, I haven't really pursued that. It's hard for me to sit down still and look into a computer and be able to get things done. And I can do it from time to time, but I feel like I have to mentally will myself to. And once I sit behind that computer, I'm like, okay, finally. But my focus really lasts for like a couple hours. And maybe that's normal. Maybe there's several other people out there that can't do that can't sit in front of that computer, stare at it for 6 straight hours. I know for sure I don't really want an office job. But with that, I have to figure out what career path I want to take. What do I want to pursue in life? I need to take action, because the reality is I've lacked action, and with that lack of action, I've lacked clarity in what course of action to take with my life. And I spent a lot of time dealing with the mental struggle of not knowing what I want to do, and also within that feeling like I can't handle life's challenges. And a little backstory. I need to get better at storytelling, to be honest. I'm already on this video for 5.5 minutes, and I think I haven't really gone into more substance of my story. And after high school, I fell in love with the love of my life, who is still the love of my life and who I am still with now. But there's a lot of shit that's happened in between then and now that we both had to go through together within our relationship, but also both of us individually. And I think also just for myself and the progress that I've had to make on myself, it's been incredibly difficult because I have self-destructive habits that I'm not sure where they started, but I know ever since I was in elementary school, I just always have been lazy to some extent. I have never really wanted to take things too seriously. And although I did get good grades in school, I was smarter enough to figure out how to get good grades without putting in that much effort, if that makes sense. And after high school, I kind of started getting into this wax pen that I was hitting pretty regularly during that summer. And little did I know at the time that that wax pen had jewel pod juice or whatever inside the mixed with the THC wax. And because of the combination of that weed and also the nicotine, I became really dependent on it. And as time went on, my girlfriend's still in high school and I just graduated. So I'm 18. I turned 18 during that summertime, and she is 16 years old. And her parents start to finally figure out what's going on. And she comes from a Latino family, and so do I, but her family is a little bit more conservative, and they did not want her to see me anymore. And we had to go through that process for about 9 months, but within that, I became addicted to this nicotine THC mixture, and I was hitting that pretty regularly, and I just felt really lost. I felt like I was just living in a dreamlike state, in just some dissociation state that was really depressing. Like, I didn't even want to live within reality, in all honesty. It was really tough for me, and I don't even think it was really just that situation with my girlfriend. It was just a whole host of other issues that I already had within me, and also the realization, like, oh, I'm in college, I don't know, like, if I want to do this, and I just struggle with that major resistance within me because it's so hard to still right now, like, it's so hard for me to get past that discomfort of actually pushing myself with my mind. And I can do that through exercise, through taking cold showers. I can push myself mentally, which has really helped me a lot in other situations, but it hasn't been enough because I haven't pushed myself mentally enough in educating myself. I think that's the ultimate goal, is to educate myself and really advance myself to a point where I can either help people, or I can be good enough at a specific subject that I'm valuable to someone or to an organization or something else. And maybe I'm putting too much pressure on myself, but at the same time, I know that these are things that I've needed to do. And I think a big part of the cringe that I feel and this resistance that maybe other people could resonate with, big part of that comes from knowing what I need to do, but lacking the will to be able to do it, if that makes sense. And I know after that addiction, I finally decided to quit. Like, I knew I had to, otherwise I wasn't going to be able to live a good life. I just knew it. And I quit it, but wow, man, like the withdrawal symptoms I had were really intense. It was mostly psychological. I know the first couple weeks I actually had like physical withdrawals where I could barely sleep. I was sweating at night, and I think the first month was really difficult for me. Like, I literally like thought in my head like I didn't want to live. I didn't think like I wanted to actually go out there and commit suicide, but I just felt like I didn't want to live. And that was really difficult for me. Time went on and things got better in terms of the psychological withdrawal. I didn't have those feelings of not wanting to live, but I definitely had like this deep depression. And I think several months later, I picked up weed again. Now, no nicotine, but still weed. And for several years, it seems like, since that time, that was 2018, or 2019 actually, when I picked up weed again, but no nicotine. Now it's 2023, so that was 4 years ago, and since then, I have still struggled with that dependency on weed, because I feel like I still would go back to it as a crutch to honestly like escape the discomfort of life and the responsibility that comes with it and the challenges that come with it. And I need to get better at storytelling, I'm sorry. But as the years have gone by, I've contemplated like, oh, like, should I quit weed? And ultimately, like, I never truly quit. And I know in 2020, when COVID first started, I decided to trip on mushrooms. And I felt like this experience that I had all alone really helped me embrace myself and being okay with that. And I really felt spiritually connected to nature, and I felt like that was my biggest spiritual connection, was nature. But I also was meditating for a couple months at least, like every day. I felt really disciplined in that regard, more so like a spiritual discipline. And then I kind of lost my way. Like, I went back to old habits. I started picking up weed again. And I know at some point within that, I did stop smoking for 3 weeks, which was nice, but I decided to go back to it. And even though I knew internally that it's not really serving me, I don't feel like weed has ever really served me in a beneficial way. And now, like, I think that I've had like good times on weed, of course, but the majority of the time, I don't feel like it serves a purpose. I think maybe 1 out of every 10 times I'll have like a good time with my friends or something, or my brother, and it kind of like serves as a catalyst for really good conversations and having like more in-depth discussions that can be eye-opening. But that's only 1 out of every 10 times, and is that worth it enough for me to continue having it in my life? And I know the intention of this video is to talk about purpose and resistance, but trust me, if you're this far along, there's a reason why I'm talking about weed, because weed has been, I feel like, the biggest obstacle for me to overcome in order to really like embrace sobriety. And I don't even really care for drinking a whole lot. I will drink maybe every couple of weeks, and I rarely ever get drunk. But ever since I had a mushroom trip in August of this year, but this summer was essentially this summer was the hardest time I've ever experienced emotionally, and I was able to get through it because I finally faced all the shit within me, at least all the shit within me sexually that I needed to face. All the dark thoughts and desires that I felt like I was able to face and really come out of that and understand myself better and what that meant and what I truly want out of life. And what I really want is a life with my girlfriend. And the truth is, I have had self-destructive habits where I shut down, and weed definitely made that worse. I had a sexual addiction, pretty much. It wasn't like a full-blown sexual addiction, I feel like, but it was one of those sexual addictions that just it still kind of like kept me connected to those bad sexual habits that I would have as a teenager, where I'm like jacking off to other women, or just any like porn I could find as a teenager. It was something like I seemed to have carried still through my relationship. And I mean, I really regret that. And it was a difficult time this summer, really having to go through that, because my relationship was at a crossroads. For me, I know my girlfriend is my best friend in the world, and I also know that I've had really bad sexual habits ever since I was young, and I think within our culture it's been ingrained in us. It's encouraged among boys, which is not good. And it's also just something that was encouraged by my own father, which is a whole nother story, not for now. But essentially what I was trying to get to is those were things that I had to address. And I had a mushroom trip that this summer that really opened my eyes into what it means to be a man, or at least like my own man, and how I'm responsible for myself and my pathway in life. That I had to take full ownership over myself and my desires and what I want out of life, and that I'm not going to get my hand held through everything. And although that trip was really helpful for me in that regard, and facing the really heavy shit within me, there's still a lot of work I need to do. And I know that trip kind of reinforced the idea that weed doesn't really serve me anymore, and yet I've still been smoking weed, and not as often recently. I definitely have had an aversion to it. I only smoke maybe every 2 weeks, just about. But even then, I still feel like that's too much. I think maybe every once in a while I could have it, but even then, like, what's the point? Why can't I just give it up completely? So that's what I was trying to get at with that whole story. I really hope that you followed it all the way through. I'm sure that was kind of difficult to follow. I feel like I definitely need to get better with storytelling. I mean, there's all these characters in my life, all these experiences that I've had that I'm willing to share for hopefully the benefit of other people, and them understanding that everyone goes through their own things, and a lot of us have experiences that are really similar to each other. And I think maybe that is one of the intentions behind trying to make videos again with Will, But weed has definitely been one of those things that I'm trying to fully let go of. It's like still this thing that I go back to sometimes in hopes that it's going to feel like it once did, but it doesn't. It just reminds me of my own sense of comfort that I once had, and it reminds me of just being avoidant of things. And I still do that. I'm still avoidant of discomfort when I'm sober, of course, and I'm definitely not dependent on weed like I used to be. But I think a huge thing for me to do would be to release that. And I know that I don't really want it to be a part of my life that much anymore, because I associate it too much with the negative things that I have gone through and the negative aspects of my personality and my habits that I'm trying to overcome to become the man that I want to be. And that's the big theme of this channel, is facing that darkness, trying to embrace it. And I know in the context of this channel, it would be manhood, but it can still apply to women too, or just anybody else that's looking to embrace the darkness and that shadow aspect of themselves, and what question that they need to answer for themselves, and to really face that truth. It's a lot of heavy things that I'm talking about here, and maybe it's taking me a long time to discuss it, but that's okay. If nobody views this video, then that's okay with me, as long as I get this out there and I'm projecting it out there. I'm taking the action to help myself answer some of these questions as well. And the question really here again is, do you lack purpose, or are you just experiencing resistance? And I know right now, in my personal experience, I'm struggling with what career path to take. And with my job currently, I do enjoy my job to an extent. I feel like there are definitely pros to it. I'm good at it, that's for sure. I do make a decent amount of income, and it's not overly difficult, but there are cons within that. The cons to me are, I don't know how much room for growth there is for me. And although the company structure has been built by the owner to make it seem like there is room for growth, I don't know how long that's supposed to take and how much control I really have over that, because I don't receive enough administrative hours in order to achieve what I want to achieve. There's a lot of context that goes into my job. I guess the context of what I do, I'll just mention it every time I talk about it, just for anyone that is viewing. I am a youth sports director, so I direct multiple programs for various age groups, for various sports types, and it's not competitive play, so it's more so just the format of clinics and just small programs, or maybe summer camps and holiday camps. But that's essentially the idea, is I'm directing those programs. I am coaching them. I'm great with the kids. I'm creating my own curriculum and my own lesson plans, essentially, that could span over the course of 8 to 10 weeks. And I'm trying to teach life skills through sports, and there is a purpose behind it. Of course, I have that purpose, but I think the biggest question for me that I'm really trying to answer for myself that I haven't been able to yet is, am I trying to leave this job because I want to go find something new that'll give me that spurt of energy, or am I trying to leave this job because it's not pushing me to a point where I'm experiencing growth. And it's really difficult for me to answer that because I know, based on my experience, I've felt resistance and I've felt resentment towards many other jobs in the past. I've definitely felt that towards people in my own life. And I think maybe that is a part of like the narcissism within me, kind of like what I grew up to see portrayed by my own father, because he is narcissistic. So maybe that narcissism I've kind of grown up with and that I haven't like fully really gotten over. Although like I wouldn't say I'm a narcissist, but I think a lot of us have that ego attachment where we have some degree of narcissism. And for me, I know I just feel like a sense of contempt sometimes just being in some of our meetings. Like what's the point of some of these meetings, and is this even worth it? You know, it's like, are these the people that I really want to surround myself with? And for some context, we don't really have like that good of a company culture. All our meetings are over Zoom because we all are doing our own programs. We all live in different areas, so there's not really much of a camaraderie. There's not much of like that team atmosphere. And I think maybe, I mean, my goal here is to answer the question for myself over this video, but also sharing it to you as a viewer. If you made it this far, you're a champ, dude. I honestly, like, super grateful for you if you've made it this far. But ultimately, like, I'm recording this for myself, but I mean also to help other people, to really help them think more critically about themselves and understand like the things that you need to do sometimes in order to come to a decision, even when it's really difficult, even when it's hard to embrace the real truth. And I think there is some combination here of me wanting to leave out of like having that urge to experience something with novelty, but also I need to experience more growth. I need to push myself more. I don't feel like I'm pushing myself enough in this job. I did get promoted quite a while ago, maybe like 4 months ago, but I got demoted pretty quickly for reasons that were really out of my control. And that's the whole reason why I don't feel like there is that much growth, because even if I get promoted, I just feel like it's not what I'm really looking for if I get promoted again, because I'm just handling programs in different areas that I'm not even like actively engaged in, like areas that I don't live in, or I'm not even really near, like in proximity. So there's just this dilemma I am having to address here. Like, am I trying to be comfortable or trying to experience novelty in some type of way? Am I just being too resentful, or like having too much of an ego attachment to myself, and kind of like not like expressing that much love outwardly, even if it's over video call? Like, maybe I'm not being open-minded enough. Maybe I'm not being more like of a open-minded, loving, like empathetic person. But at the same time, I know like one of my biggest weaknesses right now is being social. That is by far one of my biggest weaknesses. And part of my whole question here is, with my lack of purpose that I've experienced throughout the years, is like, do I want to work with people or not? And I think I've had to come to the uncomfortable realization that if I want to really happy or at least content with myself and like the decisions and I've made, or at least like where I'm headed in life on a career path or whatnot. I had to push myself in some regards socially, and I don't think, I mean, yes, recreationally I can be social, but I really think a big part of being social can come from your career and who you're surrounding yourself with intellectually. And there's a lot of work that I need to do in that area, and my job right now doesn't serve that. I deep down I know I need to be social, but on the surface level I don't want to, but that comes from like my little bitch voice that's like, oh no man, like that's hard, like it's hard talking to people, oh this sucks, like I feel like that's just my resistance talking. And this job, there is promise to it, but it's not consistent, and I don't know how long it would take for me to be salaried. It definitely, there's definitely cons to it, and maybe I need to find something that's full-time. But I know with the degree that I have, I originally like chose this health and wellness degree, or health and wellness, healthy lifestyles and fitness sciences. My degree, I originally chose this degree because I was interested in health and wellness at the time. This was after I had that solo mushroom trip that I was speaking about earlier in this video, and that mushroom trip helped me realize like, oh, like I love going out on runs and working out and taking care of myself. And I thought, like, why not do this to try to help other people? And I fell in love with the idea, but then it started to become hard, and I forgot that sometimes shit is just hard, and even if you're passionate about it, there's gonna be days where you don't want to do it. You know, that it's normal. There's no, that I think the phrase like, oh, if you do what you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life, that phrase is bullshit. Okay, that phrase is bullshit. There's going to be times where you don't feel like doing that shit, and I definitely have applied a lot of passion and work ethic into my current job, especially when I got promoted. But ultimately, like, it hasn't served me the way that I wanted it to serve me. I thought this was the career path that I wanted to go down, but maybe I should try to go back to the career path of doing health coaching, or fitness coaching at least, because I'm more interested in fitness. But within that, like, I can still embrace that holistic lifestyle of coaching, or at least like embrace like holistic health coaching. And I haven't taken myself seriously enough all these years going through school. I just kept thinking school was cringy. I kept thinking like, oh, this is too hard, or this sucks. And I feel like all of that came from a place of resistance and trying to evade the responsibility that I had to advance myself, and I never took it seriously. And now I have 2 classes left. I bullshitted my way through school. I have 2 classes left. I feel like I barely learned anything. I've put myself at a disadvantage here, but I think I know what I need to do. I have to pursue this, or at least try to, in order to try to understand if this is what I really want to do or not. I'm never going to know unless if I really try. So I guess that's my answer for you as a viewer. If you've made it this far, you are like, you earn like gold or something. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for viewing. I guess for you as a viewer, I would just try to use these experiences that I've spoken about to really like dig deeper, to really like look within, and whether that's journaling or talking to somebody else, or just trying to find any way you can to look within, rather than like evade your responsibility of like that uncomfortable question that you need to answer. I would say just take action like that. Baby steps helps. I think just taking any action rather than doing nothing and trying to evade it, because that'll just make your anxiety or depression worse. So I hope this video helped you as a viewer. I know a large part of it was me just telling my story, what I've had to go through, the thoughts that I've had. So yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye.